Hey, hope you're doing well and welcome back to the channel. Wanted to do a little bit different video today. Going to do a video on 10 books and principles that have changed my life. I'm an avid reader. I love learning, and I'm going to share some books with you and the underlying concepts that really have radically changed how I go about my day-to-day life and how I think about life in general. First book that really had a huge impact on me is called Margin. Now, this guy was a medical doctor and he went through the whole overload and overwhelm of life and ended up writing a book about it, and it's fantastic. It focuses on the different areas of life and why margin is so important and how to cultivate margin in your life. So why is margin so important? Basically, margin is space, and you need to have that space in all of these different areas of your life to have mental health, healthy relationships, and just a good life in general. But let me take this quote from the book. He says, "Margin is the space between our load and our limit. It is the amount allowed beyond that which is needed. It is something held in reserve for contingencies or unanticipated situations. Margin is the gap between rest and exhaustion, the space between breathing freely and suffocating." So a lot of us think about margin in business finances. It's that extra money left over, but it's really critical to have that in your life as well, in your finances, in your time, and stress load and all these different things. But another thing he said is power minus load equals burnout. We can only operate effectively at maximum or over maximum for so long. So a lot of people see me trimming these big houses alone and might think that I just run full tilt all the time, and that is not the case at all. I've strategically built my life in a way that I can go hard for a period of time, but then I've got margin built in between that allows me to really enjoy the work that I do and try to manage overwhelm as much as possible. So the author goes on to say, to be healthy, we require margin in at least 4 areas: emotional energy, physical energy, time, and finances. Conditions of modern living, however, have drained these margins rather than sustaining them. In emotional energy, seldom have we been more stressed, so alone, and so exhausted in spirit. In physical energy, we are overfed, underactive, and sleep deprived. In time, our clock-dominated nanosecond culture leaves us wheezing and worn out. And in finances, universal indebtedness makes our societal landscape look like a fiscal Gettysburg. So this book really spoke to me as a creator also, because one thing that I know and I have learned so clearly is that if you do not have margin in your mind, you will not be very creative. You won't have time to be creative, and you just won't have that mental space to be creative. So continuing to protect the margin in my life is huge. This is a great book. I'd recommend it. Book number 2. Getting Things Done, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity. I read this almost a decade ago when I was starting my business, and it changed my life. I will tell you, this is one of the most boring books I think you'll ever read, but it's truly life-changing. The basic premise of this book is that our brains are like computers. And just like you have DDR RAM on your computer, that's the amount of memory that you have on your computer to operate all the programs that you have open at once. If you open too many programs at once, the performance of the computer goes down and can even crash. Well, our minds are the same way, and most people are going through life with a bunch of what he calls open loops. And this open loop concept revolutionized how I handle my mental to-do lists, my tasks, my thoughts, things I want to remember for later, things I have to do today, tomorrow, whenever. He helps you understand how to take all those things that we have in our head, put them on lists, and organize that so that you can have a very clear mind and you can be very productive in a stress-free way. So he says in the book, if it's on your mind isn't clear. Anything you consider unfinished in any way must be captured in a trusted system outside of your mind, or what I call a collection basket that you'll come back to regularly and sort through. So what I have done, I use Evernote, and in Evernote, I keep track of all of my daily tasks, things I need to purchase, goals, thoughts. I mean, I have lists for everything, but my primary list is just a daily list of things, of thoughts and to-dos that I want to capture that I don't want to have rolling around in my head. Really revolutionized how I go about my day. The other thing that I do is I try to keep as many open loops. I should say I try to keep as few open loops as possible. So I remember back when I first read this book, I went through and one of the things he says to do is to gather all of these thoughts, all of these open loops that you have in your head, and just dump them and capture them onto paper. And I tried to close as many of those loops as I could. That might be things around the house that need fixed, this thing that needs attention, that thing that needs attention. Close as many of those loops as you can. And what you find is you'll be more creative, you'll have less stress, and in business, you'll be able to capitalize on opportunities better. So it's an exercise that I do a handful of times a year. Is I'll just take a couple days and close all the open loops that I can think of and just take care of things. That way I can be as creative as possible. Book number 3, The Psychology of Money. This is definitely one of the best, if not the best, money books that I have read, and it relates really well to me as a tradesman and as a trade business owner. A lot of us think of being good with money in terms of math and dollars of cents and doing calculations, but that's actually not the case. He makes the argument in this book that being good with money is a lot more about principles. So he says in the book, we are taught about money in ways that are too much like physics with rules and laws, and not enough like psychology with emotions and nuance. Every decision people make with money is justified by taking the information they have at the moment and plugging it into their unique mental model of how the world works. But every financial decision a person makes sense to them in that moment and checks the boxes they need to check. They tell themselves a story about what they're doing and why they're doing it, and that story has been shaped by their own unique experiences. So we all have a story that we tell ourselves about the world, about finances, our limitations and our potential, all these different things, and that shapes our finances far more than just the dollars and cents. So lots of great principles in this book. I'd highly recommend it. Another book that I will give an honorable mention to is The Simple Path to Wealth. For me personally, I'm pretty much maxed out in my creative ability between on the job site work and then also being a content creator. I do not have time to analyze stocks and pick stocks and analyze companies and try to figure out the economics of the world. So what do you want to do if you're going to invest money then? This book lays out a great kind of path and plan. Talks a lot about investing in index funds and just letting your money grow with the market instead of trying to pick winners and losers and figure out what the future is going to hold. It's more about just following the trends. So this is another good book I'm going to honorably mention, The Simple Path to Wealth. Book number 4, Blue Ocean Strategy. This is one of those books that'll kind of blow your mind and really get you out of a set pattern of thinking and open your mind to think about everything and especially about business in a different way. One of the things that I enjoy most about running a couple different businesses is strategic thinking. And this book really divides a line between two types of businesses, and it defines them as red ocean businesses and blue ocean businesses. From the book, red oceans represent all the industries in existence today. This is the known market space. Blue oceans denote all the industries not in existence today. This is the unknown market space. So you got two different kinds of businesses, red oceans, blue oceans. In red oceans, industry boundaries are defined and accepted. Competitive rules of the game are known. Here, companies try to outperform their rivals to grab a greater share of existing demand. Existing demand is the key there. As the market space gets crowded, prospects for profit and growth are reduced. So think in the terms of trim carpentry subcontracting, there's only so much work to go around, and if we compete like a commodity, the more people that come into the space, the more demand there is, the less profits there are. So it says in these red oceans, products become commodities and cutthroat competition turns the red ocean bloody, all right? So there's actually an alternative to business, an alternative to competing in these red oceans, and that's blue oceans. It says, blue oceans, in contrast, are defined by untapped market space, demand creation, and the opportunity for highly profitable growth. So basically, in a blue ocean, you create your own market space with your own unique product or value proposition, and therefore competition becomes irrelevant. Most of us are taught to think in terms of a scarcity mindset instead of an abundance mindset. So a blue market strategy really focuses on an abundance mindset, and it focuses on what value can I create and give that is not already there, rather than how can I go into this market space and compete with the people who are already there under the general terms of the industry that are already kind of set. The book goes on to say, blue ocean strategies challenge companies to break out of the red ocean of bloody competition by creating uncontested market space that makes the competition irrelevant. That's the key. You want to create your own value proposition and create an uncontested market space where you don't even have competitors. So if you're the only person who does what you do the way that you do it, you effectively have no competition. The book goes on to say, new market spaces are being created every day and are fluid with imagination. As this world keeps evolving, these new opportunities and market spaces continue to open up, even in the construction trades. To stand apart in overcrowded markets, you need to be creative through value innovation. So we want to be creating a unique value proposition in order to further our business. The book goes on to say, what most consistently separates winners from losers in creating blue oceans was their approach to strategy. The companies caught in red ocean followed a conventional approach, racing to beat the competition by building a defensible position within the existing industry order. The creators of blue oceans, surprisingly, didn't use the competition as their benchmark. They thought differently. Instead, they followed a different strategic logic that we call value innovation. Value innovation. We call it value innovation because instead of focusing on beating the competition, you focus on making the competition irrelevant by creating a leap in value for buyers and your company. So this will really help you to look at your business differently, to open your mind to different possibilities, to creating different value propositions. Works for businesses and employees. If you're an employee, you also have a unique value proposition, a unique skill set and cocktail of skills and characteristics that make you unique as well. So a great book. There's a lot of data in it also, but the general principles definitely make it worth the purchase. Book number 5, the 80-20 principle. This is a really popular concept. A lot of you have really heard about it. So some of the key principles from the book: 80% of profits come from 20% of clients. 80% of the increase in wealth comes from fewer than 20% of the investments. That's statistically backed up by different studies on stock portfolios. And then this book really turns a lot of conventional wisdom upside down. Things like look for the shortcut rather than run the long course. Strive for excellence in a few things rather than good performance in many. Being a jack of all trades does not pay off. The riches are in the niches. Specialization is where it's at. Only do the things you are best at doing and enjoy most. Find that 20% of things that you're the best at and really enjoy doing. In every important sphere, work out where 20% of effort can lead to 80% of results. Look at your most profitable jobs. Where are you most profitable? What can you do to optimize your business so you're focusing on those jobs? Calm down, work less, and target a limited number of very valuable goals where the 80-20 principle will work for you rather than pursuing every available opportunity. The older I get and the more I advance in my career, the more opportunities there are. It's hard to know which direction to go, but I do know if you go in every direction, you go nowhere. You have to pick the best course, that 20%, and run with it, optimize it. So this book is great. It's a good exercise to do once in a while, just to take a step back, look at life, look at what you're doing, and make sure you're optimizing everything to what's gonna be in your best interests, and it's gonna be in alignment with your business interests, your calling, your family, your happiness, spirituality, all those different things. It's good to get everything in alignment with that 80-20 principle. Book number 6, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. If you've never heard of Viktor Frankl, he was a Holocaust survivor. He lived through the concentration camp era. He was a Jewish psychologist, and he lived through a period of time where he got to see the absolute worst in human history. And in that, he was able to make observations about life and meaning and happiness as he watched the fellow prisoners in these concentration camps, how they reacted, who survived, who didn't, and he made just some brilliant discoveries about life. So I'd consider myself to be an idealist. I always have been. But there is a dark side to being an idealist, and that is whenever the world does not work the way you think it's supposed to, it's very easy to become cynical. One of my favorite quotes is that a cynic is just a wounded idealist. So Viktor Frankl was able to make a lot of observations in this concentration camp. A lot of otherwise happy people in normal life ended up in these concentration camps. And he was able to observe the characteristics that differentiated the people who basically overcame mentally in those difficult conditions versus the ones who didn't. The book opens up with a quote in it, and it says, "We have come to know man as he really is. After all, a man is that being who invented the gas chambers at Auschwitz. However, he is also that being who entered those gas chambers upright with the Lord's Prayer or Shema Yisrael on his lips." So we see these two extremes, idealism and cynicism, and Viktor Frankl developed what he called logotherapy, which were some principles about meaning and life in general, how to find happiness. And there are basically 3 principles of logotherapy. The first is that life has meaning in all circumstances, even despondent ones. So he made these discoveries and expounded upon what it looked like to have meaning even in an Auschwitz concentration camp. Second principle is that the main motivational force is the desire to find meaning in life. He goes into depth on how we can find more meaning out of life in whatever state that we're in. And lastly, the third principle states that humanity has the freedom of the choice of attitude, even in situations of unchangeable conflict. So that doesn't do any justice to what this book is really about. but it's very much worth reading. It's shaped a lot of how I kind of built my life and what I do day to day to find meaning, to pursue meaning, but then also to keep a good attitude even in bad circumstances. Number 7, Mastery by Robert Greene. Now, if you know anything about Robert Greene, he's got some really interesting books. I think he has a huge amount of wisdom and understanding about human nature and things like that. This book on mastery is profound. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of his worldviews, but his understanding of what it means to pursue mastery and achieve mastery is absolutely incredible. And as you can see, anyone who writes a book this thick on mastery knows a lot about it. This book is not a bunch of fluff. It is full of just beautiful observations about what it means to really become a master of a craft. So set aside all of the business and finance and all of that stuff and just talk about perfecting a craft and what it takes to get there. That's what this book is about. There aren't too many other books like this that I've read. It's really in a class of its own. Another book that I would recommend is called The Call to Mastery by Jordan Raynor. And I was actually interviewed on his podcast, The Call to Mastery, and we talked about what it is to pursue mastery as a professional finish carpenter. So if you are interested in that, I'll link that podcast in the notes. You might enjoy it, but we really got into the idealistic view of what it means to really pursue perfecting a craft. So enjoyed that conversation. Check that out. I'm just going to give you one quote from this book. I have a ton of this book highlighted. It has so many incredible points, but just a nice idealistic quote here. In order to master a field, you must love the subject and feel a profound connection to it. Your interest must transcend the field itself and border on the religious. So the way I view life, we have callings, and many of us are called to use our hands and work in the skilled trades. This book is really about the pursuit of that calling, also the call to mastery, more of a Christian perspective on that pursuit, but I'd recommend both those books. Next book, this is called The Values Factor. It's all about value and different aspects of that. What are your core values, and also how to create value for others. And probably the biggest concept that I took away from this book, and it's something that I've really applied to my life, is the concept of alignment. If you picture most of us with our energy, let's say just this fist represents this sphere of energy, and then you've got energy going out in different directions. And we've got our family, our job, our community, and we give energy to all of these separate things. This book talks a lot about taking our values and getting everything in alignment. So our job becomes our calling. Our job aligns with our family, our friends. And instead of having these different energy pieces going out in every different direction, you get all this energy going in the same direction where these things are intersecting with each other. So you bring your highest values in alignment with your vocation, things like that. You bring your marriage into alignment. So you're both moving in the same direction, all these different things. I think most anyone who's probably honest with themselves will say that there are a multitude of voices around you, family, friends, culture, whatever it may be, telling you what you need to believe, why you need to believe it, how you need to live your life. And a lot of times this is not in alignment with your calling in life and what you have to contribute to the world. So this book really is a great exercise in boiling that down, getting into the essence of that. Couple quotes. Your highest values tell you what you love and what matters most to you. And your highest value, the things you love most and matter most to you, is your life's purpose. Following that purpose is the greatest and most inspiring journey you could ever undertake. So even me right now, I love learning and I love sharing. I'm living in alignment with that calling and sharing that with you here right now. That's an example of my personal values and what I feel called to contribute to the world while I'm here. Another quote, sometimes we spend a lifetime attempting to subordinate our highest values to someone else's, and that is absolutely not fulfilling. We delude ourselves into thinking that we are living according to our highest values, but we really attempted to subordinate our values to someone else's. Sadly, a lot of people never really reach their full potential and even do what they really should be doing in life because they're living someone else's life and someone else's values. So this book is a great exercise. He gets a little off for me at some points, but there were tons and tons of great principles and takeaways for me. And just in general, that concept of aligning your values with all these different spheres of life is fantastic. If you can work on alignment, your life will definitely go a lot better. So recommend that one. All right, number 9 isn't really a book so much as it is a concept, and that is the Enneagram. I didn't know if I wanted to mention this or not, but reality is it has definitely been one of the most positive things in my life, so I'm going to share it. It's a long rabbit hole to go down if you're going to go down this hole, but it's all about personality, what shapes our personality, and essentially there are 9 different kind of categories that it breaks personality down into. It's helped me understand myself a lot better. I personally think that self-knowledge and self-understanding is one of the most important pursuits that we can have in life, because whenever we don't do that, we're most likely to screw up other people's lives. So getting to know yourself is important. Probably nothing's helped me to do that more than the Enneagram. I'm an Enneagram 5. There's 9 different numbers that it kind of ascribes traits to. But it also will help you understand other people around you a lot better, accept other people, and see people's strengths, as well as have a conscious awareness of other people's weaknesses, which helps in conflict and a lot of different things. So check that out. It's a long rabbit hole, but it's been good for me. Finally, we are at book number 10, and that is The Second Mountain. This is a little bit of a philosophy book, and the title, The Second Mountain, basically the book is about 2 mountains, and we are all climbing a mountain in life. Most of us start out in life climbing this first mountain, as the author kind of describes. And this first mountain is really just reinforcing our ego or trying to heal some kind of childhood wound, pursue those things that we think are going to make us happy and fulfilled, but in truth and reality really don't. And basically what happens is in life, we get to the top of this first mountain, we realize it's not what we wanted, it's not meaningful, it's not fulfilling. A lot of times at this same stage, a trial or something really difficult in life comes along that sends us down from the mountaintop of this first mountain down into a valley, and that is where we begin the pursuit and the ascent of this second mountain, which looks much different than the first mountain. So this book is a lot about meaning. It's a lot about what matters. In our society, we have become extremely individualistic. It's all about me, my accomplishments, my achievements, and those types of things. And this book really sheds a light on the importance of community and service and helping others, and kind of the basis that is where true meaning is found. Quoting from the book, If the first mountain is about building up the ego and defining the self, the second mountain is about shedding the ego and losing the self. If the first mountain is about acquisition, the second mountain is about contribution. If the first mountain is elitist, moving up, the second mountain is egalitarian, planting yourself amid those who have a need and walking arm in arm with them. Also from the book, you don't climb the second mountain the way you climb the first mountain. You conquer the first mountain. You identify the summit, you claw your way towards it. You are conquered. So the first mountain, it's all about you, your achievements, yada, yada, yada. Second mountain conquers you. You surrender to a summons and you do everything necessary to answer the call and address the problem or injustice that is in front of you. So you begin serving a higher purpose, a higher calling. On the first mountain, you tend to be ambitious, strategic, and independent. On the second mountain, you tend to be relational, intimate, and relentless. So it's really a change in focus from the self to looking outward. It's a good book. It'll really make you think. I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a nice dose of perspective in a world where we usually just constantly hear the glorification of the individual and the individual's achievements and goals and identity and all these different things. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It's a little bit different. Life is more than just about nailing baseboard onto walls and stuff like that. But whenever we align our craft and our calling with those higher principles in life, it makes for a good life. And these books cover a wide range of things, but I think that's important to pursue wisdom from a lot of different sources, to learn from a lot of different people. And these are some of the books that have been most thought-provoking to me and have really shaped who I am and changed how I go about living my day-to-day life. I hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about the list. And also, I will have affiliate links to all these books in the video description and top comment for this video. Check those out if you want to buy any of these books. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate you being a part of this community. And it's a privilege to serve this community. As a value, serving the trades has been something core in my life. It's a privilege to me. So thanks for being a part of it. Hope you enjoyed the video.